Hi all. Right, welcome back. Enemy Action Kharkov, German Soul, Part 4. Right, a lot of things come up recently. Just I've still not completed looking through Part 3, so it's still not put it out there yet. I had spotted a mistake myself, which I thought was a mistake. I've just doubled back and checked it, and it is. There's a mistake being picked up from part 2, yeah. I've not put part 3 out yet. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, annoyed again about it. It was the Soviets drew. That got shuffled in, didn't it? It was a shuffle in, wasn't it? Yeah. It got shuffled in. Yeah, Philip picked this one up. Yeah, well spotted, Philip. I mean, I should have. It was the attack on this unit here from the 6 army units, and we ended up with I want to say 3-1 odds, 5 chip pools, I think, and we ended up with a D1 result, which I retreated from the hex to here into the woods, and these units advanced from here to here. Also, while we're up there, David had asked about this, wondering about the proximity of this unit into here. Well, I think I explained it to you, David, that he's in this guy's zone of control here, so he can't move from enemy zone of control to enemy zone of control. So that's why it makes that hex not. We don't have a unit proximate to it. Yeah, so it's just why we were there, and I thought I remembered that. But yeah, because quite a few things have been talked about. So yeah, and the Pallade assault coordination. I remember I was looking it up and I knew the rules had slightly changed. However, it was still the same. Assault coordination, because I checked up the Soviet solo rules. Didn't look on the combat tactics. That was silly, wasn't it? Assault coordination. I'm not going to read it all. It does all what you would think it does. If no unit, however, in bold at the bottom, if no units are added via assault coordination, add 2 combat chip draws for this combat tactic instead of 1 and reduce attacker hits by 1. We had this in the previous game. We had it in Soviet Solo. Now, this was a change from Enemy Action or Den. I'm pretty sure it was. I want to say there was a reduction of a hit in one of the games, wasn't there? Yeah, but there wasn't an extra chip pool, I don't think. However, yeah, I missed that one completely, and I only gave them 1 chip pool for the actual combat tactic because it didn't apply. Gave them an extra chip pool, shuffled the card got shuffled back in. However, I didn't consider that they would be able to reduce a hit to themselves. Fortunately, they didn't take any hits. However, we were 1 chit short, and we should have drawn another chit to see this guy's fate. Now, if he hits another D1, I would have been able to retreat him again. Now, I know this has since happened, and this guy's retreated back to here. Well, that brings up the other the other error that I made, but I actually think I'm getting away with this because I make a mess of it in 2 ways. I'm reading the tactic. What is it called? Ooh. Oh, it doesn't tell you in the player aid. Tactical value. Is it tactical value? There's a wording for it, wasn't there? The tactical value, there it is. Yeah, so it does have it. It does say if tactical value greater than or equal to 7. Right, I'll come at that bit in a minute. Well, no, I suppose you're all in the one bit, Grant. But this was an exit gain impulse from the Popov units. We had an attack and they eliminated one of the Rouse units. I want to say it was. I can't remember where it was, to be honest. But that was okay. That was right. I then go to check and I'm reading. Well, I actually read 2 things wrong in the tactical value check. But the one that I really read wrong throughout is if any attacking units are surrounded. And I don't read that as that. I read it as the units that are being attacked are surrounded. And that's not what it is. It's if any attacking units are surrounded. And I was like, why would they add a +1 to that? But if you think about it, they're surrounded. They've got a chance to move if they can attack the unit, break, get it to retreat, then they might not be surrounded. So it's understandable. So I make a mess of my second attack with the Popov units, not counting that. Sorry, no, I count it and I shouldn't be counting it. However, I get away with it because the next one is if flanking will apply, and that's all I read. I just say if flanking will apply, right, well flanking doesn't apply. It was just one hex, it was just a 1 hex attack at the time. I think then they brought in assault coordination, didn't they? Yeah, it was this unit that attacked. He was up in here, and I think this unit was in here. So he's retreated twice. And yeah, can we not just pop that back like that, Cran? We'll just leave that. Duh. Yeah, you're going to make a mess of things, Grant. You're going to forget things now as well. That's what it was like, okay? And I should have just stuck with this bit first and got this bit out the way. So I'm checking for the tactical value. The card values are 3. We got a +1 for Soviet artillery barrage, it's a 4. +1 for it being a support, it's a 5. +1 because Soviets are only ones with armour, so that's a 6. And then I say +1 if any attacking units are surrounded. And of course I'm reading this wrong. I'm thinking it's this guy, he's surrounded. So that's a +1. So I take that to 7 now, but it should still only be at 6. However, I then read the next one, which is if flanking will apply. Well, flanking doesn't apply because we're only attacking from 1 hex. But if I read the rest of that instruction though, if flanking will apply, or defender will be surrounded and unable to trace supply. So the defender is going to be surrounded and unable to trace supply. So that would have gave the +1, which it didn't give, and the one before that would not have given a +1. So the attack still would have went ahead, so fortunately I get away with that one. I'm going to put a couple of comments in the header for the video though, because yeah, I was totally reading that wrong. Both of the instructions I was reading wrong. So did he double advance? Yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah, it's forward arrows, so he would have done. Okay, so that was that, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a chit from the cup. Now, there is a few chits being set aside, but most of the chits are in the cup. I mean, I'm talking 5 or 6 chits, and I think it was from that combat. I can't really go back and reset all the chits to have the exact amount and the exact ones that are in the cup right now. But I mean, there's 55 chits in the cup, so let's just say this is a random chit draw, okay? Now, right, I want to say the odds were 3. Well, what was attacking? It was this. It was all 4, 8, 11 against 3, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 3 to 1 odds, and they got 1, 2, 3 chit pools, 1 for the artillery barrage, 4. And then I gave them 1 for the assault coordination. You should have got 2. So I'm going to do 5 chits. That's why I need to draw another chit, just to see if it would have affected this guy. So 3 to 1 odds, and it's just these infantry units. So let's just draw another chit, and that's the best I can do to resolve it. So here we go. What we get? Right, we get 7 to 1. Well, it definitely wasn't 7 to 1, and it wasn't 5 to 1. Right, I'm going to go and double check. I mean, it wasn't 5 to 1. It was 3 to 1, I'm sure. Yeah, so it was 3 to 1 with 5 chit pools. Should have been 3 to 1 with 6 chit pools. There's us drawing the 6 chit. It did not apply. And also they should have been reducing a hit to themselves, but there was no hits to them. The final result was D1, and it still is D1. I'm just going to chuck that chit back into the cup as well, because I'm not quite sure what state that would have been in. So yeah, thanks for that, Philip. Yeah, I should have remembered that one, because that should have been quite fresh in my mind. I think it's because there is a slight difference when you were drawing combat when you were drawing combat tactics in the previous game, if they didn't apply, you didn't get a chit draw for them. That's right, isn't it? And with this game, it does apply to the Soviets. When they draw a card, if the combat tactic doesn't apply, they get a chit draw. And I think I just automatically said, well, okay, assault coordination doesn't apply, but they get a chit draw. But I should have. I mean, if I'd looked at the combat tactics chart, I would have seen it, the play rate. But see if see that fixed artillery is saying if it's beyond fixed artillery range, it doesn't apply. But they still get a chit draw for that. So I was just unlucky in the fact that assault coordination actually says if no units are added, you get 2 chit draws. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we've fortunately caught that and sorted it in time, I think. And yeah, and this other one, I'm just going to double check again. I'm going to put comments in about the fact that I've read that wrong, and hopefully that was just the same result. Fingers crossed. Right, there was something else I wanted to mention. First of all, when I said to you about I've got a different version of the rules, what I mean is I got a sort of beta copy of the rules from somewhere. I'm maybe not allowed to say, but anyway, I did previously, and I was able to. They're digital, you know. It's not a rule book, so I was able to read it at work when I was, rather than take the rule book with me, I was just using that. However, it wasn't the finished version of the rules, and I'm starting to see some things catching me out. So I'm going to have to be careful with that. And I even wrote down here that, well, in fact, you know what, I'm not even going to read it to you because I don't want to confuse you, but it was something that was written in the beta rules that wasn't brought forward to the actual rules, and it was quite a big point. I thought, oh right, okay, so I'll not even read it to you. I was watching back on. Now I have moved the units. It's when I was maybe hang on, find. Yeah, it's when I was looking at, it was the pop-off units. They've all kind of moved now. But it's when I was looking at possibly tactically adjusting them. That's what I want to call that, tactical adjustments, because I don't know, it just feels like. But it's 9.25 tactical preferences when moving adjacent to German units, and it was the one about. There was a preference that said a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. And if you recall, I had 3 possible hex options. One of them, it was like this, one of them was empty, 2 of them were empty, and one of them had a unit in it. And for where they were positioned, if we were to follow that preference and reach that, it was actually going to go on the unit, not on the empty hexes, because the 2 empty hexes were adjacent to a Soviet unit, and the unit was not adjacent to a Soviet unit. I mean, I know it is there, but I'm maybe not explaining myself well here. But it felt a bit odd to have had empty hexes, but to choose to put it on, and then I had the flashback about the whole carry on where, what is it? Not adjacent to the German unit, adjacent to the same Soviet unit. That one, and then John did in fact change the word in. It is in the errata, but again, I've still not printed that page out, which is silly because I could be talking about something that could be relevant right now. Because I'm wondering if that wording is, although it doesn't talk about the adjacent to the same Soviet unit thing. Yeah, I'm gonna get myself all muddled up here. It felt a bit odd, and I'm wondering if there's maybe something in that. But you know what? We'll see it. I talked about it at the time. Going to put a little note in the header for that as well, where it is, just suggesting, is this right? Does this feel right that I could put the unit I could stack the unit with another unit rather than select an adjacent, an empty hex. And remember, this is when moving adjacent to a German unit. So you kind of think they would want to spread out rather than going to one hex. That's the problem that they had with the Soviet rules. That's what was happening. They were all stacking in one hex. Well, that preference there, and I'll read it to you again. And it's preference, I'll look at the wrong bit. Preference D, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. So you can imagine what I'm saying here, that wait now, let me try and show you what I'm trying to say. Right, not sure if this is the best example or not, and whether it's going to work. Right, there's a German unit, there's a Soviet unit, this unit's active. He's going to move by some movement method that gets him adjacent to this unit, right? Okay, so let's just say the movement that he uses moves him into the adjacent, right? Whatever it is, he's tried, is closer to something or whatever. That doesn't matter. So he's moved there, adjacent to a German unit. Now, as soon as he moves adjacent to a German unit, we look at 9.25 because it applies to all moves in which a Soviet unit would end its move in a hex adjacent to a German unit. So we look there, and then hang on. Wait a minute. Okay, sorry, I got myself distracted and I was away thinking about something else. There's that many things going through my head at the moment that have just been coming up that... yeah, okay, so back to that. So like I say, let's just say this is whatever movement method, he's moved adjacent to this. So now we need to check for 9.25 because he's moving adjacent to a German unit. Apply to all moves in which a Soviet unit would end its move in a hex adjacent to a German unit. Right, I'm not going to go into the rest of that stuff yet, but there's some stuff to take out of that as well. But anyway, so when ending a move adjacent to a German unit, prefer A, a hex within the current Soviet operational limit. Let's just say that they're all within that. A hex that would cause the German unit to become surrounded. Well, that does not cause the German unit to become surrounded. C, a hex in Soviet support. Let's just say they're all in support. D, a hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. So here we are. So this unit's moved from here to here with whatever movement method that he was following, and possibly even using movement method tiebreakers. He's ended there. We then check tactical preferences, because remember, they they take preference over any tiebreakers, preferences or requirements, these movement methods. So how about this then? A hex not adjacent to a Soviet unit. Well, this is a hex adjacent to a Soviet unit. So we would go back and say, can he reach another hex? Well, hang on, he can reach this hex here. That's adjacent to a Soviet unit. What is not adjacent to a Soviet unit? That. So that means if that situation that I'm just showing you there just now, the unit would not move to here. Now, he wouldn't even move to here. Now, he would move to here because that's surrounding the unit, but he wouldn't even move to here, flanking. Okay, we're in a town here, but he wouldn't even move to there, flanking. No, that's a lie. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish now, aren't I? Because the thing that's stopping him was adjacency. Yeah, so he would move to there. That's fair enough. So, but between these two hexes that are empty, he would not move to them. He would take a preference on that hex rather than these two. And that tends to make me think that, you know, it might be that it's not, it might be that is fine. It's similar to something that came up in my Soviet solo playthrough. That's all, basically what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm just not sure if that's maybe needing some attention or not. Maybe not, but yeah, there's a lot that, I mean, I remember from Enemy Action Ardennes, these tactical adjustments, tiebreakers and restrictions, they were all quite complicated and to get all right, because you can move via Sorry, you can move via a requirement. You can make a requirement, meet a requirement, make the move, adjust it with tiebreakers and certain preferences, and then have to adjust it again with this tactical adjustment, which I want to call it tactical adjustment. 9.25. I better say it that way. 9.25 could adjust it again, and not only that, I still never got around to reading these examples. But listen to example one. It's a beauty. It's a beauty, and it really, like, you've got to. This is where it comes into it. So example one: a Soviet unit moving via movement method 10, follow movement arrows, happens to end its move in a hex adjacent to a German unit. Tactical preference B calls for the unit to end its move in a hex that causes the German unit to become surrounded if possible. The Soviet unit is able to conduct its move along a route that would reach such a hex, so the unit moves to that hex instead, even though the move does not follow movement arrows. So how about that one? How are you going to manage that one? Let me see. Can I give an example of that? What it's saying there? Okay, I think I've got a wee example of this. So here's a German unit, here's a Soviet unit. This is our active unit. He's moving by movement method 10, so he's following his arrows. Okay, he's got 6 movement. Now he's got to use up all his movement. He's going to end adjacent. No, I don't think I'm at. Let's not look into all the preferences with that. He's got to use up all his movement. So he moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All primary arrows, right? And he ends adjacent to this German unit. Okay, that's him followed his primary arrows all the way down there. He's ended adjacent to this. Now, as soon as he ends adjacent to this, we've got to look at 9.25 again. So, preferences. Hex, Soviet operational limit, forget that. A hex that would cause a German unit to become surrounded. Right, see if he ends in this hex here, he surrounds this German unit. So let's take this guy back to where he was. That means he's actually going to move, zoom it a little bit. He's actually going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's not going to move his 6 movement into there. He's going to not follow an arrow at all, if you like, to move into there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's so easy for you to think, well, that's where I'm moving it to. But you've then got to remember, as soon as you hit adjacent to German unit, look at 9.25. Could we have surrounded this guy? Yeah, we could have went into there instead of there. And that's not following an arrow. There's not even a secondary arrow into that hex. So that's what he would actually do in that situation. And that's exactly what that example describes. Or something like that, I think. So easy to catch you out. Easy. I mean, that's breaking the whole, what's the word? Requirement. It's breaking the requirement of that unit that, you know, it was required to follow its movement arrows, whether it was primary or secondary movement arrows, it still had to follow a movement arrow. Well, that has just broken that. So, yeah, so you've got to think outside the box when you move adjacent to a German unit. You've got to start thinking, right, okay, now what could he do? Could he get to a better place here and go through the preferences? Okay, it might not come up as often as I might be sort of suggesting there, but it's a tricky one, that, I think. It's one we've got to keep in mind. Okay, 24 minutes. You're not really doing anything here, are you? Yeah, one other thing I noticed I was kind of messing up, and Michael actually pointed that out in a comment. Must be in part 2 as well. He mentioned it was movement method 8 I was looking at. See, when I first read all these movement methods, I read the first part of it up to the preferences, and I didn't really continue reading after the preferences. Well, there's generally a lot more important information at the end of the paragraph, which I commented back to Michael. I don't know if I brought this up maybe in that last part. So movement method 8 was, hang on, I'm at the right bit here. No, I'm not. I've got to watch that. That's 9.22 instead of 9.21, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's adjacent to German unit, so it's moved to an unoccupied hex as adjacent to German unit and not adjacent to a Soviet unit, adjacent to that same German unit. Okay, and then it was up. Again, things have moved. I can't really show you it, but it was about trying to move units. We ended up we couldn't move anything. It was the 6 army units. I think it was the first move. However, it does give you some preferences, but then it also says at the end, a unit starting in a hex satisfying this movement method does not move by this or any subsequent method. So in actual fact, when you do that, I should basically say that guy's moved. He's not moving. He's not going to move by any other movement method. Now I could have got caught out there as well, because if I had found another movement method to move him by, I would have done so illegally, because he should have then just sat there and not done anything. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Michael. Yeah, it was just silly of me not to read on. I got to the preferences and thought, no. And that's when all that important stuff is down the bottom. And it also mentions except as directed by 9.25. And if you remember, I was up here, I was a bit baffled by that, because it's got it for movement method 8. It's got this bit, like, does not move by this or any subsequent method except as directed by 9.25. It's got it for movement method 8. In fact, has it not got it before that? Sorry. It's got it for movement method 2, 6, 7, 8. And the one that's missing, and strangely enough, Martin has made a post on BGG asking this, that it doesn't include it for movement method 12. And I remember scratching my head at this when I was looking at it a little, because it is worded, it doesn't mention it at all. I mean, why not? I mean, the only thing being, this is movement method 12 is the last movement method, right? So, and it says at the end this, wait, hang on, strengthen potential attack. This is on page 19, movement method 12. If not adjacent to a German unit, move to a hex adjacent to a German unit to which another active Soviet unit is also adjacent. And then it finishes with, a unit starting adjacent to a German unit does not move by this method. So it's worded differently to the rest of them. The other ones are worded, a unit starting in a hex satisfying this, or whatever, does not move by this or any subsequent method. Right, okay, there can't be a subsequent method because this is movement method 12. That's the final movement method. So, okay, fair enough. But then it also doesn't have except as directed by 9.25. So when I seen Martin post that, I thought, yeah, that could do with clarification. However, I did sort of look at 9.25, and Martin actually spells this out in his post. That within 9.25, the second bullet says that these preferences apply to movement methods that calls for a Soviet unit starting adjacent to a German unit to not move. So it actually tells you there that that movement method which says unit starting adjacent to a German unit does not move by this method should then be covered by should then look at 9.25. But I agree with Martin what he's saying. I mean, I put that post in just to sort of say that, okay, it is in there, but why not have it, except as directed by 9.25 down the bottom, just to, I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, it does say it within. Now, then again, you could say that, it's possible that you could say that if you looked at 9.25, would the other ones need that added in as well? Possibly not. So that you're not starting adjacent to the most qualified. Does not move by this or any. Yeah, to be honest, he's right actually, because every one of them would be covered by that. So I maybe should edit my post slightly. I still agree with him. I just thought that it does kind of state there. But then, why is it saying that for the other ones, 9.25, if it covers it there? Okay. Right, are you going to get anything done tonight, Grant? No, probably not. Well, I think it's our impulse, isn't it? So, could I not just get a wee German impulse and then maybe... I'm worried that I'm still not completely watched through part 3, although I think I've spotted these mistakes. It looks like we're going away with them. Well, I fixed this one by drawing another shit. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure there's other things floating around my head right now, but that I wanted to talk about. But I'm sure they'll come up as things move on. Okay, there's our hand. Let's see if I can just get a German impulse in. That's 30 minutes. A German impulse in. At least something's happened. So, oh yeah, we've got the second SS, haven't we? So it's either deploy second SS, 40th Panzer Corps card. Yeah, not really feeling the urge. I mean, we've still got this guy sitting here. And then there is the Corps Rouse, I suppose, who could probably do with moving outside. Yeah. But then again, do we not need, is it not more important getting the second SS in? I don't know actually, maybe not. Because, I mean, I could get this Rouse unit out of the artillery barrage zone. Artillery and barrage. They got mixed up there. I've had one beer, okay. But I was early this morning, right enough, so to work, that is, not to drink. Okay, so we've got 2 dispersed Corps Rouse unit. This guy is outside though, so it would be nice getting him out. And then we could get this guy out as well. Possibly, well, we don't want to leave gaps, so I don't think. Possibly could move him slightly further back to maybe be able to be proximate to Belgorod, something like that. Maybe into this woods hex. Yeah, I would be able to just make that. So, but is it not more sensible getting the second SS out? I don't know. I think the thing is, if I take that Rouse unit straight back here, then it kind of leaves a gap for these guys just to get. I mean, I know these are just infantry, but a gap's a gap, you know. So it does kind of allow these to come through here freely, and get around. Well, surround this guy, for instance, as well. So, but I don't know what's the worst. What's the better of the two things? If we leave them there, it does lock these guys in, but if I leave them there, we're just waiting on the inevitable, aren't we? Okay, we're slowing them down. They're speed bumps, aren't they? By leaving it there. But yeah, I would remove dispersal from 2 units. That would be a decent move, I think. Probably moving this guy into there. Because he's breaking zone of control 1, 2, and then 2 into the woods, something like that, and that still holds this line, puts them into a better position, leaves them proximate to Belgorod. That disperse marker comes off, but I wouldn't know. Oops, I'm going to put that guy back there now. Yeah, I'm just not so sure about that guy. Yeah, it doesn't really matter where I move them. If I'm wanting them outside the barrage zone, I can reach here and here. 2, 3, yeah, that's not outside. I can reach these 2 hexes outside. Well, I mean, I can reach here as well, but if I go there or there, it's still allowing these guys to come through. Just, yeah, I don't know. These are the bits I'm never very sure about. It could be better just to leave that guy in there. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I actually feel that leaving that guy there would be better. Because he's also going to be adjacent to this guy. He's a 1-step mate, and then also, if I move him back to there, I mean, yeah, he is surroundable if I do that. And okay, he's not going to be dispersed anymore, but this guy can go in there, and then this guy can go in there. You know, he's surroundable. Whereas if I leave that in there, they're going to have a buddy adjacent. Okay, they're both sitting in an artillery barrage zone. Okay, that's not great, I know. Yeah, I think I am going to do this before deploying the second SS. Because they've got to be deployed within 3 of a unit in the same... Well, they've not got any core on the board, so the first one has to be deployed within 3 of a unit in the same army, so... now, hang on, where are we? We're 4th Panzer Army, aren't we? So it's in between these 2 lines as well, and they need to be deployed. That's right, innit? In the army area, need to be in supply, 3 axes away from an enemy unit, within 3 axes of a unit in the same corps, if not possible in 3 axes of a unit in the same army. They're not getting any core on the board. Wait, I say until as soon as I deploy this guy, who's going to be the first one to deploy? Actually, is that my preference? I don't think I need to select them by selector number, do I? No, I don't believe so. I can place them how I choose, so I mean I could select number 9 first. It doesn't matter, selector numbers don't come into that, don't think. Right, obviously it will for the Soviets, but doesn't for me. Yeah, and whenever I've put the first one, then the rest of them are going to have to come in within 3. However, you do have the strategic reserve deployment as well, which pretty much just needs to be 5 hexes away from an enemy unit and in supply really. So that's still in the army area though. Yeah. So it still needs to be in the army area anyway. But I could look at this guy, go 1, 2, place the first unit in there, that's within 3 of that guy. And then have the other ones scattered across here a bit. Yeah, I think we can wait another turn before we play the second SS and deploy that. I don't know if that's silly talk or not, but I don't think there's a rush because I'm not so sure I'm going to get another card to do anything with them anyway. So, yeah, I'm going to activate core rousing. And, yeah, I think all I'm going to do is just move this guy. So he's going to move 1, 2, breaking zone of control, and 2 more into there. Yeah, that is putting that guy in dangerous round though, isn't it? If I do that, yeah, it does leave this guy in dangerous round. So I'm wondering if maybe I should just put him in there, just outside the barrage zone. And also having unit adjacent, that is beneficial, you know. And then he's not surroundable, is he? No. Okay, I think I might do that instead then. The downside, he's not in the woods and he's not proximate to Belgorod, but I'm not so sure there's a mad rush as long as we've got a line stopping them from getting through to Belgorod, then we don't need to panic as of yet, I don't think. So I think that might be the best choice there. And then obviously the disperse marker is going to get removed. The other guy, nah. Yeah, I'm just opening things up there. Well, actually, can I place an IP on him then as well then? If I don't move him, I think I can, can't I? Yeah, so we do get the benefit of placing multiples this time. So as switched around, the Soviets can only place 1, but they don't get that until turn 4. So at the end of the German activation, you may place IP markers on active, undispersed, supplied German units that did not move or attack in activation. So, yeah, Does that not feel like a bit of a waste of the card then, just moving that unit out? Well, we are undispersing 2 units too. That is quite important as well, Grant. It does feel a bit weak though. You know what, I'm going to go with that. So what happens first? The IP marker goes first, doesn't it? And then we remove dispersed. So I'm going to use the same procedure as I used in the previous game. So we're going to build an IP on this guy. He's a supplied unit. He didn't move or attack. So I'll put the IP underneath. I just put a blue cube just to remember that he's got an IP, basically. That's it. And hopefully we don't forget about what he is. It's just, yeah, you put the marker on top, it kind of covers up all the information, you know, as does this disperse thing. And then, so that counts as an activate, something he's done, an activation. And then finally, we'll get to remove disperse from this guy and this guy. So, yeah, I'm not really sure if these are clever moves or not. I mean, I couldn't get that guy outside the barrage zone, but I could have got him outside. But then, like I say, it was opening up a gap. So maybe it was more sensible to leave that. And then we did get dispersed off of this guy, and we got him outside the barrage zone. And okay, we didn't get him in the woods, and I didn't want to stack them together. I mean, because there would be a gap down this side. So I don't want to leave gaps if I can. You know, I mean, I dare say they're going to appear, but yeah, let the Soviets do that. Let them work harder to do that, I think. Okay, right. Well, that's 42 minutes, and there wasn't much gameplay. I know I'm me yakking again, but right, this is this side. I wanted the cards. I've got the cards. Whereas I was doing it the other way about now. So that goes in there. That's in our primary card away. So we get to draw up to 4 cards. So we're gonna get a new card, and we get. Okay, so this is one of the supplemental cards. It's Core Rouse again. It does have the engineers event. Yeah, it's probably not what I wanted. We've got an engineers event on this card. So we've got 2 engineers events. Yeah, maybe not the best card to have drawn there, but however, we still have 2 cards in our draw pile, and that's us hand back up to 4. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to cut that now, actually, because I don't really have any more time left tonight. But should have a lot more time coming up, so hopefully we'll get a bit more done. But I can see this, it's going to be tricky, this is, I'm going to have to be careful. I can see, I mean, okay, that was a bit of a daft mistake with that assault coordination part, because I'd done that in the last game, I remember it. Michael's actually brought up a comment that he feels that it maybe wouldn't apply, but I don't believe so. I mean, his case was, that's over there, that he felt that it might just been referring to, it says, in a Soviet attack, all non-active Soviet units adjacent to the defender's hex participate in the attack. It says exclude dispersed and isolated units and units that have already attacked this activation. He's suggesting that maybe means that it's just them, and if none of them, I'm pretty sure it is right, Michael. I mean, it's got it highlighted in bold. If no units are added via assault coordination, add 2 combat chip draws. I'm pretty sure it's right. But he said it might be worth asking him BGG, but I've left that to him if he wants to do it. But I think Philip's got that right, and I'm sure that's the way I applied it in the Soviets. So obviously it was for the Germans rather than the Soviets. But anyway, right, okay. Okay, I'll leave it for now, and it's a shortish part this time anyway, but not a lot happened. So And I'll be back with part 5 tomorrow, hopefully. Okay, cheers.